how to lose and how to choose.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Linda Carboneau from Walking Through Life TV show. Again, I have a great guest with me, Catherine Samuelson again. Hi, Catherine.
Thank you for letting me come back so soon.
Yeah. Well, you know, we have to keep you here, keep coming back, though. We don't want you to lose interest in walking through life.
Well, Sophie tried to grab me and make me a
host.
Yes, and I'm like, no.
Good. Then you'll keep coming back here when, you know, whenever you have something that you think that we would enjoy, which is always everything you always say, you know. I've had a lot of people comment too from your first and second show too about how they want to hear more from you and things that you do and things like that. And actually had somebody say to me, well, she's got to be teaching workshops and she's an intuitive, right? So then I have all these people saying, how can I get a hold of her for reading, angel reading, you know?
That's simple. It's go to read about me at catherinesamuelson.com, KatherineSamuelson.com, or email me at klsamuelson@yahoo.com and say you're interested in a reading and I can give you more information.
Oh, that's great. That's good to know. You know, I think a lot of people have a lot of questions, I think. And that's what we're going to do when we get, because we didn't have time in the last show. So we're going to do one now, right?
Okay.
All right. Well, first of all.
So so you can take notes if you'd like.
Yeah, so that's what I did last time. My gosh, I couldn't believe it. We gave other people names. Wasn't that neat?
Yes. I try not to remember other people's stuff because it's not my stuff.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, it was neat that it popped up like that.
So maybe I should explain, if people didn't see the last couple shows, that I do something called automatic writing. I hold a pen, and as you notice, I've got it upside down because I've given up using ink because the angels and guides, when they write through my hand, they write over and over and over in the same spot. So I couldn't read it anyway. But that's how my gateway is the pen. Other people use tarot cards or psychometry, which is holding an object. You see, people have different gateways to the intuitive, to the psychic.
Yeah.
And this is mine. So I will look like I'm scribbling, but I know what they're telling me. So people will know.
Well, the first question, I think, I'd start with personal letter, okay. So one of the family's biggest question was, at my mom's funeral, I had written kind of like a eulogy. Mm-hmm. And it got lost. And everybody wanted copies. So I don't know, is it still in my house somewhere to get thrown out, or?
Does it make sense that you left it behind?
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Maybe where I was, yeah. I'll check that out.
But who knows if it's still wherever that was. But that's what they're telling me. The other thing people should know is that no psychic is 100% correct. And any psychic who tells you what they are, I think I would just politely turn around and walk out, because we are filters. We have good days. We have not so good days. We have belief systems. So unless you spend a lot of time working on, in my view, working on getting out of your own way, then there can be issues.
I know.
And occasionally, I remember one client, I had a question from her, and I just had to say, excuse me, I just have to take a minute here and step back from my own belief system, which this client appreciated.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, what else?
Saying to the same angel and guides, my sisters and I, who get along great, would like to know if there's any way of knowing that my mother sees us. You know what I mean?
We can ask.
One of the things I'm curious about is we all talk about a blue jay that we see often.
That's Mom.
Okay.
It's Mom sending a message.
Oh?
So.
And the significance of the red balloon?
She just thinks it's a hoot.
Good, good, good. And one of the other questions I had about that too is oftentimes she's in my dreams, and I know my
That's
sister's
her.
sick.
That's her.
So when I write, that's her
Yes.
helping me write.
Yes.
And that's why the sisters get so much out of it.
Yes.
Yay, yay.
Sometimes the answers are one word, and sometimes they go on.
Right, right. But I think that was good. I think that'll reassure my sisters too, that help them. So that was the personal questions that I had. Now, more specifically to not only me, but to others that may be struggling with the same sort of thing, like quitting smoking, losing weight, getting healthy. What's some of the things that the angels and guides can tell us about how to do that?
Well, it's probably more likely to be something that's for you.
All that's for me too.
No, but I mean,
Yeah.
because I have my own issues, and doctors or people will say, well, you have to do this.
Right.
Well, that doesn't necessarily work for me because I have my own issues.
Right.
So I just wanted to preface that this may be helpful for a lot of people, but it may not. It may be directed for you. So if there's one thing, so it's easier for me if we have one piece that we're working on.
No, I know I'm doing the smoking now for my health. And but I really am trying to focus on movement and getting excited, I guess.
Physical movement or?
Yeah, physical exercise, stuff like
Okay.
that. I'd really like to be able to know how I can go about starting getting excited about that and really doing it. There's got to be something.
I'm sorry to laugh, but it's like, I understand, you know? It's
Yeah,
like,
well, you know, when you're big, you don't often do those movement. It's hard to move sometimes.
they're giving me that water exercise would be good for you.
Water.
You know, like in the shallow end of a pool. Now, the aquatic center.
Yeah, yeah.
Do they have that?
Yes.
Is that available to you? Because I know you use transport.
Yeah, I could get that transportation. It's the price that isn't.
Well,
Good.
you could talk to them. But, you know, if there's a Y somewhere, or, you know, that was just because I know it exists.
I've always been love to swim. Always loved to swim.
So that makes sense then.
Yeah,
So
see?
if you can find a way that's affordable. And I don't think you want to go out and swim in the Connecticut right now.
No, I wouldn't think so. No, I think a pool would be a much better idea for me. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Be a little nippy right now.
I know. But it does make sense because swimming was my favorite sports growing up. No, it wasn't really. I didn't think of it as sport. I thought more of it as fun.
Well, and interestingly, I read somewhere somebody working on weight loss for people worked with some maids in some hotel in New York and convinced them that what they were doing was fun. And somehow it caused them to look at their work as a maid differently. And when they changed their minds about it, they started losing weight. Instead of like this terrible drudgy.
Yeah.
So I can't remember how the person did it, but something in their brain shifted.
But it makes sense, especially with the water, where the water is something that I've always loved.
Right.
I've always loved water.
So, you know, maybe you just call up the aquatic center and say,
I want to go for a swim.
and is there any way you can give me a price break because blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
You don't ask, you don't get.
that's right. Got to ask first.
Right. And then look around and see if there's other options in Lebanon or wherever.
Yeah, because there's I guess there's a lot of places in there that you can, a lot of places around.
In the spring, now that it's spring, when the weather is warmer, they'd like to see you start walking. So it can be just very simple things, but more as a walking meditation, if that makes sense. And the trick is, because I've done it, is you have to pay attention to what's going around you, but do your mantra at the same time.
Huh.
So, because you don't want to get run over.
Oh, yeah.
Or step in a hole.
I've done that. I'm a great daydreamer, so yeah, when I walk and I'm outside, not thinking, "Bloop, down I go." Yeah,
So part of the meditation can actually be paying attention to your surroundings.
yeah,
But start with those two, they're telling me.
walking in water. Okay, got that.
And if you can find the pool, that's affordable, you can walk in the water.
Yeah, that's true. You can, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, so we got the exercise. Okay, so as far as helping friends, any friend, say any friend at all that might be going through a hard time. For me, it's always been listen, but then there's something in my brain that says, give them this advice, give them that. I'm not supposed to do that, I wouldn't think. So how can I be more of an efficient friend to my friends, I guess?
It's all about love.
Oh.
It's all about love. Hand holding, love, and that is sufficient.
That reminds me of something that my mother had said the day before she died. She took my hand, she says, Linda, touch is so important, and she'd rub my hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Smart lady.
Yeah, yeah.
But maybe if you've done all your questions, because we were going to talk about...
Oh, yes, for sure. Yeah, I think that's it. Besides, how is the Walking Through Life audience doing? I mean, are they having fun watching the show? You got to ask.
Of course they are.
Of course, it's a lot of fun.
But one of the things that I had told Linda about this book.
Oh, when I read it.
It's simple. It's clear. I would say, it is filtered through the experience of his friends who came back over and gave him this information. I think you could have more than one entity meet you at death. That's my one big difference.
Yep.
Although it does say that later on there would be others.
Yeah.
And I also would agree that probably there's one main guide to help you. I also agree, I think, that probably any struggle is the struggle on this side before you get to the transition point.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember it's talking about that, about when you pass over, sometimes you may not really understand that you've done that. And at one point it said something about you may try to jump back into your body or linger around till well after the funeral or whatever. But this is also a book that talks about how you can accept it better. I think that you're dead. Yeah.
But I am not what I call a direct medium like John Edwards, John Holland, those people. But I can ask through the angels and guides about those who've passed over. Mm. So that's another one of the things that I can do. But for those who are curious about what happens after, those who aren't atheist and don't believe that nothing happens after, I think it's a pretty clear guide. It's really...
It's simple, and the paragraphs are small, but right to the points, you can totally just understand it,
Right, so if you're interested in it, it's called The Death Transition, and the author is Cliff Aguirre. I met him at an event in Portsmouth.
Did you?
And we traded books, so that's how I came on this book. And as I said, he had two friends die, and both of them came over, and I'd have to go back and really read it thoroughly, but I can't remember if they came together or shortly after each other, but these two friends came to him and to provide him the information so he could pass it on to people, so that you'd have some idea.
And is that in the foreword and the acknowledgments and all that? It actually tells you how to use the book, how to understand it.
He talks about the death of a friend when he was 18, just different people who had died and how hard it was for him. And so eventually these two friends came through and provided him this information. And one of his own experiences, he had a dream or meditation where he saw his father shortly after he died, and he was at a school desk writing, and he turns out and smiles and waves at him and turns back. He was like, I'm fine. When my uncle by marriage died, went to the funeral. I was living in still Illinois, and the funeral was in Michigan. And I swear this really happened. I was very early in the morning of the funeral, and I was in a dream, that in-between dream state. And suddenly I felt very chilled. And people talk about when spirits being cold. Well, they're in a different vibrational plane than we are. Mm-hmm. And suddenly it was my uncle, spirit, laying next to me in the bed. And I'm like, you know, and I finally got out, how are you? Mm-hmm. He said, dead. And I thought, that's Uncle Eber's humor.
Yep.
And I'm about to ask him if he had a message for my Aunt Doris and his wife. And suddenly there was this bright light at the end of the bed, between the end of the bed and the TV. And I got out and said, what I said instead was, what is that? He goes, my guiding angel, gone. Which said to me, because at that point I probably would have said guardian angel.
Yeah.
And he used the phrase guiding angel. And the rest of the experience of the day was I waited till after the funeral, and it was at the house afterwards with, you know, the lunch, and I turned to my mom, Methodist, conservative from Illinois, and I told her the experience. I said, do you think I should tell Aunt Doris? She goes, yes. And the two nuns who were from the hospice agency that had helped take care of my uncle prior to his death, oh no, dear. I just thought this was so funny. The Catholic Church, which is bigger in the afterlife, and they like poo-pooed all that, you know. So that was a very direct experience for me, communicating with someone in the afterlife.
Yeah.
But again, doing this work, it's more mediated through the angels and guides. Occasionally somebody will muscle in. It's like, it's your grandma.
Well, I think that would be cool. And I think that when you do have an open mind, that could be helpful in stuff like this. I like to talk, too, about the part in his book that he talks about not only the afterlife, but the past lives, which is interesting. And one of them describes how to find that out in your dreams. And it's just really neat to me. You know, it's not something that you can just start thinking about, but paying attention to your dreams, and it describes how you can do that. And I had one dream that I had some initiation to the past life or whatever, and it was me and this other girl that ran into this great big huge hedge, and there was a guard going after us, right? So here I am in the bushes, and I moved away from the other girl. All of a sudden, the girl got picked up and thrown on the ground. She had a leg up like this, and she had blood on her other leg, and she was just like she was dying or something, you know. And I woke up, and I'm like, I could see it, the images, the hedges, the flowers over by the house, the big house, this beautiful costume thing that she had on. And I was like, wow, I wonder what that is, because obviously that was back in that time, you know.
Right. So, but also, he talks about the pre-death process. Mm. And what I find is interesting is he talks about that the actual moment of death is very easy. But doing the work a number of times, it has come through that going to that moment was bumpy. Mm. People, if you fight it, if you're afraid of it, it can become harder. Mm. So I have been trying to create in myself a deep sense of it's okay. Mm-hmm. It's going to be fine. That what is going to happen is you're going to be met and you're going to be in this unconditional love of the Creator. I also don't believe in hell or purgatory or limbo. Yeah. And I think that's clear from the book.
Yep.
I've been told I have a very Baha'i view, which is that what, quote, hell really is being in the unconditional presence of God or Creator, unconditional love of the Creator, and accounting to yourself for yourself.
Yeah, that would, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know that that lasts a terribly long time. You know, that kind of review of, oops, I really omitted to do that, I did that thing, I did. So I think the more work we do on ourselves here.
I've always been one, well, not always, but I guess in the past 15 or 16 years or so, I've just not believed in hell, and I don't believe that our Creator and our God would would make such a place
No, I think it
for
was the
people to go and burn, but I think it's a person's, people describe that. People can
Right.
put that fear into.
Well, if you, in my view, the Catholic Church in the early day, even even up through the Inquisition stuff, they were trying to control people from cradle to grave. So they eliminated reincarnation. So if you get to do it over again,
Yeah.
then why should you pay attention to the Catholic Church? If you're not going to go burn in hell for this
Sins or
venial, whatever. There's venial sins and I forget. There's two kinds of sins. It's like really. Paul Tillich or Tillich, however you say his name, he was a theologian, and I read a number of his sermons, and he said that the only real sin is doing something that separates us from God.
But I think too that we all know when we do things that aren't right. So I think that we're already our own worst critic. And the most that what we can do is try to correct those wrongs. Try to correct whatever it was that you've done or you're doing, such as when my mental illness was at its severe, I finally took a look at not what I was suffering from, but what others were suffering from when they experienced me. And that's how I found the path to decide, I'm going to recover from this. I'm going to do better. I'm going to find another way to deal with this. And I did. Obviously,
Good.
I did.
Great.
Even knowing, though, that I've done some pretty bad things in my life, and maybe I would never be able to ask for forgiveness. But I can show by being the person that I should be. And that's always been my theory, too, is that you can always take the choice of change. You can always take that change if you want it. And to want it means that you want to be loved by anybody, especially your family, your friends, or whatever,
And if you don't have a lot of family and friends, you're loved by the Creator.
Exactly.
You're loved by the angels and guides.
I can remember at a point that the family had to dissociate from me because I was like, this is part of my illness. I was suicidal. I was cutting myself. I was making them feel guilty for it. All this stuff. So I became where I didn't realize it, but I had actually pushed them all away from me.
Because they had to protect themselves.
Exactly, and they had to protect their children, and just like my mother had to protect the younger ones, and I didn't see it as that. I saw it as this was being done to me, and I can look at it now and see the total difference between then and now. And I think that my family understands that now, that I have grown to a point where I understand what they were thinking, and how they were thinking. And sometimes we don't like to look at that stuff, but if we do, that's how we can heal.
And in my experience working through the angels and guides with those who've passed over, a lot of stuff just drops away. And I had a client who was like, oh my God, the family house, and I don't know what to do. And they were like, sell it. My parents were, sell it. She said, but it's the family. They're like, it doesn't matter, it's a thing.
Yeah.
The only thing that matters is love. And that seems to be a constant theme. The only thing that once you're on the other side is the only thing that really matters is love. I have yet to experience somebody coming through and yelling at somebody, or somebody tried to tell me, oh, my father didn't understand why I stopped being a lawyer. Well, he's on the other side. He knows. My being a lawyer is not important. It's really not. And so that's where I sort of go, we're stepping in our way, aren't we?
Yeah, I think most of us do that, and we are our own worst critics.
Right, but this was another psychic who was telling me that my father was like, no, he's got other things to deal with, it's like, or exist in, or it's like, why would he? I practiced for close to 30 years. Why would he be upset in the afterlife, in the midst of unconditional love, that I decided to do something else with my life? Yeah. Didn't make sense to me.
No, but maybe it did. Maybe it did make sense to you at the time, that, you know, you thought maybe he would think that. Well,
No,
no,
no.
because you've always known.
Right.
But for me, I guess that I would question, well, is he there thinking, you know, thinking I'm still sick and I'm still this and I'm still that?
No, they
you
know. They know.
Yeah.
No, but what was interesting to me, this other psychic seemed to, like, that's what she was saying my father was like.
Saying, yeah.
And then in talking to somebody maybe going to do work at her space, and the progress of the book, it was originally a set of cards and became the book, and she said, oh, the angels want to know where the cards are. I'm like, they know where they are. I didn't say it, but they gave permission to switch it from cards to a book. It's like, so that's why I said none of us are 100%, including and especially me.
But if we were 100%, then there would be no wonder, no excitement, no
Right.
thrill, or, you know.
Right. Wouldn't be human.
Exactly.
So,
Yep.
so I feel that I'm very, very good at what I do,
I think you are too, absolutely.
but I'm not going to guarantee you 100%.
Nobody can give it a 100% guarantee.
I did a free consult with somebody who was interested in my being possibly a life coach for her. She wanted me to guarantee her result in 3 months' time.
Well, that would be good.
I said, I can't do that. I will guarantee that I will get you as close as I can. But I mean, it depends on you doing, you know, she has to do all this work, and she has to maybe give up preconceptions of where she wants to be. And
yeah, when you're asking for a guarantee, you're kind of like, can I get my money back if I don't like it? Rather than.
And it was like, well, you know, this is going to drag on forever, isn't it? I'm like, no, this lasts as long as you decide it lasts.
Yeah, right.
That's life coaching. It's built around, the way I do it is, you know, if you want to do that much work and you can afford it, we'll do it every week. If you can't, we'll do it once a month. You know, would you maybe get progress a little faster if we did it more often? Yeah, possibly. But I'm not going to say, oh, well, you have to spend this much money every week. No. No, it's really around the client.
And
but we
that's
seem
good,
to have
too.
strayed from the book.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, the one thing that didn't mention in there that I was curious about? So it talked about how when people died, never talked about animals, you know, like your pets, stuff like that.
Well, I think that's probably because he was getting information from his friends who had died.
Oh, okay.
But my understanding is pets pass over. I had 2 cats for a long time, and unfortunately I had to have one of them put us to sleep. And at that point I was doing meditation at night, sitting up in bed, and my other cat was with me. And for 2 or 3 nights, there suddenly was this whoop, bloop, 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 bloop across the bed.
That happens to me all the time.
That was my cat. Like, okay, I get it. You're well. You've passed over.
I had 3 cats that died within 3 months of each other, and they all gathered on my bed all the time when they were alive. I know I had Joey up here, and I had Scampy was right there beside me there, and then Blondie was between my legs down here. And I swear, every so often I can feel their little paws up there. Now look, my other cat will be there, but what I felt was over there somewhere.
No,
you know?
literally, it was just like this.
Yeah.
Across that was 2 or 3 nights, and I'm like, okay, I get it. You're doing well. I'm glad you're not upset that it was time. When your cat throws up blue-green stuff, it's time.
That's one of the hardest decisions people have to make, though. It is hard.
Right.
I think I prolonged my oldest cat, putting him to sleep because I was hurting myself, didn't want him to go.
Right. And I think, speaking of not wanting somebody to go, I think it is possible for someone to linger here if someone keeps in some way saying, don't go, don't go, don't go.
Right.
Because, and I think we're not good about death in this country, which is why I would recommend this book. Mm-hmm. We don't talk about it. We, we want everything to be antiseptic and sterile, and, anything that's oogie is some movie. I think it was somebody on some character on a MASH show said oogie.
Oogie.
Oogie. If it's kind of like makes us feel icky, we don't want to talk about it. We shove it aside.
Yeah.
And it would be good if we learned to say to our loved ones, if it's your time, it's okay.
Mm.
You know, and to really try to be okay with it.
I know one thing I'll say too is once my mother had passed, I wanted to go over and hold her. And one of my sisters goes, "Oh, no." It was like shock, but I had to. There was something I just had to go over and hold her. Yeah, I think people do it differently or feel about it differently or whatever. But I mean, this book was just so explanatory, so many questions that I had.
And it's so clear.
It is, absolutely. And it's not a long book, but it's got so many chapters in it that talk about specific things that you can understand. You can get a better understanding. You don't have to agree with it or disagree with it, whichever one. It's kind of like you read it at your own space, your own time. You get out of it what you need to get out of it.
Right, and you know, the fine details may be a little different for everybody when it happens for you. But you know, from my experience of doing the indirect mediumship, as I would call it, is that, yeah, you know, you're met, you know, nobody crosses over alone. And you have an opportunity to continue to grow and learn.
I liked what he talked about, too, is describing heaven. You don't, I mean, you know, some people just say pearly gates, but what's beyond that, you know? And we create what we think is heaven, or what we want to heaven. That's what we're going to be met with. And I just like the way that he described that, where you go. And I mean, it doesn't say what it's going to look like. And I think that's a good thing, because everybody should have an understanding of what their heaven should look like, I think.
And he did acknowledge that people, like you know, have had people who've reported near-death experiences, and a lot of people have seen the light, and other people, it's like, oh my God, it's terrible. Well, part of that is your belief system.
Yeah.
I really, truly believe that. You know, if you believe that you're headed for a real, literal hell, what are you more likely to see in your near-death experience?
Right. And be scared, yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So my hope for this book is, if you read it, that you become a little less afraid. Or a lot less afraid.
Yeah, I got that from his sense that that's the mission of the book, is so that the fear won't be as bad. And it's an explanation of some of the things that you might question now, you know.
So you have a little familiarity going into the experience.
Exactly, yeah. And
because again, we don't talk, you know, we don't talk about death in America.
Yeah, it's just not. I'd like to see it more communicated about and talked about, and, you know.
And not feared. Exactly,
you know. Because not only is the person that's dying probably has the fear, but also the people around them would have.
Right, and if you, this gives you more of a comfort level, so you can bring more comfort to your loved one who's dying.
Yeah.
I think that would be good.
Mm-hmm. The ones that are left behind are usually, you know, they grieve, which anybody would.
Right.
You know.
But at least I think in the midst of grief, you can understand what happened for your loved one.
Yep.
And that, you know, they're just not out there floating in nowhere.
Exactly.
And that they were met and guided. Doesn't make your loss any less.
No. But if you have that to think about, or you have that to realize, it may be a little bit easier knowing that you have to comfort yourself, you know, and to come to understand that this was their choice. You know, not that, well, maybe they died in an accident or whatever, but this is what God planned for them, and they planned together. He talks about that, how you plan your death before it even happens. You know, you plan what's going to happen. Because, you know, people that get life insurance, obviously, that's some of the planning. And subconsciously, we probably don't know that, but I liked what he said about that.
Right, because I'm one of those people who believes that before you come into a particular incarnation, you agree to do certain things. You know, there's a general life plan, and you're not in complete control of it, so I always say there's a plan B. You know, and so I think there's a general outline, maybe not all the fine details.
Yeah. And, you know, personally for me, I feel too, is that the more knowledge you can get about anything and realize that you can make serious changes in your life if that's what you want to do. It takes that desire first to understand yourself, your feelings, and you're in control of your life, you know, and it's not, I always use diagnosis or whatever because it's not just illnesses, they're diagnosed. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like teachers giving you, just saying you can't ever, or doctors saying you no longer, you know, it's constant in everybody's life, I think. And to give that power to the doctors, the teachers, or whatever, is also making yourself think, yeah, well, I can't, you know, when actually you can. It just takes that not only strong desire, but work, willingness and work.
And knowledge.
And knowledge, exactly. You got to want to learn too. You know, you got to want to change, I think, before you can change.
Sometimes knowledge is finding out techniques.
Exactly. Yeah, I love to learn new techniques. You've taught me a lot.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. So I just love this show. We should come up with another name. We know we named it Walking Through Life with Catherine Samuelson, but we've got Opening the Heart. Maybe that should be the name every time you come on.
That could be.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're definitely going to come back, right? You can't get rid of Walking Through Life now.
Well, I'm going to have to think about this. This is such a terrible time that I have on these shows.
No, it's so much fun. It is. And, you know, I'm never afraid to ask you anything. You know, any questions that pop up or anything. I'm never afraid to ask, you know, what you think about it.
Do you have guests that you're a little hesitant about asking them questions?
I think maybe first I was, but I don't think I am now.
That's good. You've reached a comfort level too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just more. But, you know, when you first get to know somebody, it takes a while to really kind of feel, you know, it's like, can we laugh with this person? Is this person too serious? I guess you're not serious. Well, you are, but I mean, you know.
I don't take myself over seriously, I think.
Oh, okay.
How's that?
That sounds good. I never take myself seriously.
Well, I think at some point there are appropriate moments for seriousness. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. Yeah, because not everybody knows that, you know, when I go home, I turn the boob tube on to decide what I'm going to eat for supper. And then sit and watch funny movies with my husband. Not many people know that we've got a play way that we play, you know. And I've never seen any other band that's been able to keep up with me when it's time to just relax and have fun, maybe throw a water bottle at each other, you know, just having fun, you know. Hey, you're not paying attention to me, boop, you know, that kind of thing. And he likes doing that too, so I think that's important.
Right, everybody has their style.
Exactly. I think that's the way I best like to describe me is I love to play.
Good.
I'm looking forward to spring. That's a question I want to ask you. When is spring going to get here? When are we going to get warm weather? Check it out. See. Is it coming? Is it coming?
Well, it usually is inevitable.
Yeah, but when?
Mid-April.
Mid-April. That'll be nice.
Warmer. It'll be, you know. You know, it's like, it's one of those. They're not the weather divas, so.
No, I know.
And that's spelled D-E-V-A, not D-I-V-A.
D-E-V-A? Why?
Diva?
Yeah.
They're a metaphysical entity, divas.
Oh.
So not as opposed to operatic divas, D-I-V-A. There's so many words in the English language that we've taken in that are spelled almost the same, that sound the same, and mean different things, and, you know, read and read, and...
I know. What do we interpret them for? I think everybody has a different interpretation of almost everything. I mean, it's like, who knows somebody that walks down the street that falls, just complete boop, and then they start laughing. While others are saying, "Oh my gosh, you hurt." No, not me. I laugh about it. I really
My
laugh
response
about it.
usually is, "Are you just my dignity?"
That's all. I'm just, my pride's hurt a little bit, you know, because I do it so much. That's why I have to use a cane, or I use a cane just because my balance issues or whatever. But do you know that was me all through my entire life? Was I fell, and then my sisters gave me the nickname Ketchup because I walked so slow. That was me as a child. I don't know why. I just know that was the case, you know. And I've always been like a daydreamer, so walking down the road, thinking about something else, daydreaming, you know.
It is good on occasion to pay attention.
Yeah, it is, because there might be a pothole right there that you're not seeing.
Yes.
Speaking of that, what should we come up for subject matter for next time?
I don't know. We'll think of it. We'll figure it out.
We will. And the next show will be a surprise for all of you. So once again, do you want to speak to the audience, maybe give your information, and maybe give them a little message?
Okay. So it's KathryneSamuelson.com. Again, KathryneSamuelson. And klsamuelson@yahoo.com. And parting message, just know that we are with you. We support you. We laugh with you. We are not as serious as you guys.
That's good.
You humans, you just take yourselves so seriously. But then we have eternity. So, laugh, love, find joy, spread the light.
I like that. So I hope you're all listening to this and getting something out of this show that may touch you and, you know, help you find some healing in your life, or, you know, and obviously we're here for any questions, or, you know, maybe you have a topic that you'd like Catherine to focus on the next time that she comes. Maybe you want to know more about the meditations in her book, or more about this book here. Or maybe you just want to find out how she plants her vegetables. Because, you know, that's always a question I have. How do you plant your vegetables?
I don't.
Oh, she does.
I don't plant. I live in a condo.
Oh, you don't have any plants. Ah.
Well, actually, in this condo, I'm going to be able to have a few. And I've got a friend who is a certified master gardener, so I'm going to have her come in and, like, take stuff out and put in stuff that's easy to take care of.
Nice. Yeah. There's nothing like being a beginner. That's me. I'm still, but my thing is flowers. I've always loved flowers, so that's what I do.
Which reminds me, I need to get in touch with her.
Ah, that's a good idea.
But it's probably May is probably the better time to plant.
Yeah. I have some. I have 2 in my house that I'm hoping will take. I'm hoping. I got them planted in there, so they're in the sun. So hopefully they'll look good. It's the first time experimenting with that, too. But anyway, this is Linda Carbonneau and Catherine, and we are saying goodbye for today, but look forward to our next show. We'll take you later. Bye.
Walking through this life of mine, well, it's teaching me so many things, like how to love and how to lose and how